In the shadows of Seoul's glittering skyline, Park Byum-suk ruled with an iron fist, until a photograph shattered everything he believed. 3 years ago, they told him she was dead. They told him he could never father children. But when a viral image reveals two faces that mirror his own, the most feared man in Korea's underworld must confront an impossible truth: his bloodline survived, and so did the woman he loved. Now, between his father's empire and the family he never knew existed, Byum-suk faces a choice that will burn Seoul's criminal dynasty to ashes. This is Bloodlines of Seoul, where love is the most dangerous weapon of all. Stay until the end to witness how far one man will go to protect what matters most. The rain hammered against the windshield as Park Byum-suk sat motionless in the back of his black Mercedes, parked across the street from a modest apartment building in Hongdae. His driver, Min-ho, glanced nervously in the rearview mirror, watching his boss's face remain carved from stone. Byum-suk's fingers drummed once against his knee, the only sign that the ice-cold enforcer known throughout Seoul's underworld as the gentleman butcher was about to shatter. "She's on the 3rd floor, Min-ho said quietly. "Unit 304. Been there for 2 weeks. Byum-suk's jaw tightened. 2 weeks. She'd been in Seoul for 2 weeks, and his entire world had already cracked down the middle. The photograph still burned in his mind, a black woman with natural hair twisted into locks, crouching beside 2 toddlers in a street art exhibition. The boy had his eyes. The girl had his mother's nose. Both had that unmistakable Park family jawline that his father prized above all else. They told him she was dead. They told him the accident had left him sterile, that his legacy died in that hospital bed 3 years ago alongside his illusions of love. "Wait here," Byum-suk said, stepping out into the rain without an umbrella. The building was old, paint peeling from the walls, nothing like the luxury towers his family owned across Gangnam. He climbed the stairs slowly, each step a countdown to a confrontation he'd rehearsed 1,000 times in his head but still wasn't ready for. When he reached Unit 304, he heard them, children's laughter, bright and pure, completely unaware of the blood that ran through their veins. He knocked. 3 times. Firm but not aggressive. The laughter stopped. Footsteps approached, light and cautious. Then her voice, barely audible through the door, "Who is it?" "English." She still spoke English first, even here. "Annabelle." His voice came out rougher than intended. "It's me." Silence. Then the sound of a chain lock being secured rather than released. "Go away, Byum-suk. I saw the photo. I don't care what you saw. Leave. They're mine." It wasn't a question. The door flew open so fast he almost stepped back. Annabelle stood in the doorway, and for a moment, all the air left his lungs. She looked different, thinner, with lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, wearing an oversized sweater and paint-stained jeans. But those eyes, dark and defiant and beautiful, were exactly as he remembered. "Don't you dare," she hissed, keeping her voice low. "Don't you dare come here and claim anything." Behind her, he could see into the small apartment. Toys scattered across the floor. Children's drawings taped to the walls. And in the corner, 2 small faces peeking around the doorframe, a boy and a girl, maybe 2.5 years old, watching him with curious eyes that were mirror images of his own. Something in his chest broke open. "Let me in," he said softly. "Please." "So you can what? Finish what your father started?" Annabelle's hand gripped the doorframe until her knuckles paled. "I know what happened, Byum-suk. I know he ordered it. I know you stood by and let them take me." That's not, he stopped himself, because what could he say? That he'd been unconscious in a hospital bed? That he'd grieved her? That he'd wanted to die when they told him she was gone? "I thought you were dead." "Well, I'm not." She started to close the door, but he caught it with his palm. "Annabelle, listen to me. If I found you, others can too. My father, the rival families, if they know those children exist. Their names are Cairo and Hannah. Her voice cracked. And they're not those children. They're my babies, and we're leaving Seoul tomorrow. You think you can run? Byum-suk pushed forward, forcing himself into the apartment despite her protest. You think there's anywhere in this country, in this world, where my father's reach doesn't extend? Annabelle stumbled back, and suddenly the two toddlers were running to her, wrapping themselves around her legs. The boy, Cairo, stared up at Byum-suk with fearless curiosity. The girl, Hannah, buried her face in her mother's jeans. Byum-suk froze. He'd seen death, dealt it, commanded men to commit acts that would haunt normal people for lifetimes. But standing 3 feet from his own children, children he'd been told could never exist, he found himself completely paralyzed. Mama, who's that? Cairo asked in Korean, his accent perfect and pure. Byum-suk's heart stopped. His son spoke Korean. Annabelle pulled both children close. Go to your room. Now. But. Now, Cairo. The boy hesitated, then took his sister's hand and led her away, glancing back once before disappearing around the corner. Byum-suk heard a door close, and then it was just the two of them, standing in this tiny apartment that smelled like paint and childhood and everything his life had been missing. You taught them Korean, he said quietly. I taught them to survive in both worlds. Annabelle's voice was steel-wrapped in exhaustion. Because I knew this day would come. I knew eventually your family would find us, and I wanted them to at least understand what was happening when, she stopped, swallowing hard. When they came to take them away. No one is taking them anywhere. You don't get to make that promise. She moved to the small kitchen, putting distance between them. You don't get to walk in here after 3 years and play savior. Where were you when I was bleeding out in that warehouse? Where were you when your father's doctor told me to disappear or die? Where were you when I gave birth alone in a clinic in Daegu, terrified they'd find me? Each question was a knife, and Byum-suk took them all without flinching. I was told you died. I was told the accident left me sterile, that I'd never have children. My father showed me medical reports, death certificates. All lies. Annabelle laughed bitterly. Your father is very good at making truth disappear. I know. Byum-suk moved closer, his voice dropping. I know what he is, Annabelle. I've always known. But I thought, I believed. That you were different? She met his eyes. That's what I believed too. That's why I fell in love with you. Because you seemed like something clean in a world covered in blood. But you're not different, Byum-suk. You're his son. You're the gentleman butcher. You're a man who was lied to about the only thing that ever mattered. His control cracked, and suddenly he was gripping the kitchen counter, his voice raw. Do you know what it's been like? 3 years thinking you were dead, thinking I'd killed you by bringing you into my world? 3 years of my father telling me to move on, to marry some syndicate daughter, to produce an heir, all while believing I'd lost the only woman I ever. He stopped, because Annabelle was crying. Silent tears streaming down her face. I can't do this, she whispered. I can't let you back in. They're safe now. We're safe. And if you have any love left for me at all, you'll walk away and let us disappear. They're already watching this building. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Annabelle's face went pale. What? My father knows. Not about the children yet, but about you. He has men stationed on every corner. He's waiting to see if I'll kill you myself or if he needs to send someone else. Byum-suk pulled out his phone, showing her the security feeds his own people had hacked. See that car? That's his. See that man at the convenience store? His. You have maybe 12 hours before he makes his move. Annabelle sank into a chair, her whole body shaking. Oh God. Oh God, Cairo, Hannah. I have a safe house in Bukshan. Traditional neighborhood, easy to defend, impossible to attack without drawing attention. I can have you there in 30 minutes. And then what? She looked up at him, desperate and furious and terrified all at once. We hide? For how long? Until your father dies? Until every rival family in Seoul forgets about us? That's not a life, Byum-suk. That's a cage. It's survival. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. They were cold and trembling. Annabelle, I know I have no right to ask anything of you. I know you have every reason to hate me. But those children, our children, they're proof that I was lied to, that everything I've built my life on is false. And if my father knows they exist, he will kill them to protect the family name. Why would he kill his own grandchildren? Byum-suk's face hardened. Because they're not pure Korean. Because you're not from one of the founding families. Because in his eyes, they're a stain on the Park bloodline that needs to be erased. He paused. And because their existence proves he lied to me. That makes them dangerous to his control. Annabelle pulled her hands away, wrapping her arms around herself. I've spent 3 years running from your family. 3 years building a life where Cairo and Hannah could grow up normal, away from all of this. And now you're asking me to walk right back into it? I'm asking you to let me protect you. You couldn't protect me before. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Byum-suk stood, turning away so she wouldn't see the crack in his armor. You're right. I couldn't. I was weak, I was blind, I was my father's perfect soldier. But I'm not that man anymore. And I won't let him take you again. From the bedroom, they heard Cairo's voice, Mama? Can we come out now? Annabelle closed her eyes, and Byum-suk watched her make the hardest decision of her life. When she opened them again, something had shifted, not trust, but grim acceptance. One night, she said. We go to your safe house for one night while I figure out how to get us out of Korea. That's all. That's all I'm asking. It was a lie, and they both knew it. The Bukshin safe house was a restored hanok, a traditional Korean home hidden among dozens of similar structures in the historical neighborhood. High walls, a single entrance, sightlines in every direction. Byum-suk had bought it years ago as an emergency retreat, never imagining he'd use it for this. Minho carried the sleeping children inside while Annabelle followed, her eyes taking in every exit, every vulnerability. Old habits from running, Byum-suk realized. She'd been trained by fear. The children can take the eastern room, he said quietly. You'll be next to them. I'll be in the western wing. You're staying? Annabelle's voice was sharp. Did you think I'd leave you unguarded? I think I don't want you anywhere near my children while they sleep. Her children. Not our children. The distinction cut deep. Minho emerged from the bedroom, bowing slightly to Annabelle before catching Byum-suk's eye. Perimeter is secure. I've stationed 4 men on the adjacent roofs, 2 at the main gate. No one's getting in without us knowing. Good. Get some rest. After Minho left, the house fell into uncomfortable silence. Annabelle checked on Cairo and Hannah, then returned to find Byum-suk in the main room, standing by the window. They didn't even wake up, she said softly. They're used to moving in the middle of the night. That will end. Byum-suk turned to face her. Whatever happens, that will end. You can't promise that. Watch me. Annabelle moved to the low table, sinking down onto a cushion. The traditional Korean setup seemed to catch her off guard, and for a moment, Byum-suk saw the woman she'd been 3 years ago, the art student fascinated by Korean culture, eager to experience everything his world could offer her. Do you remember, he said quietly, sitting across from her, the first time I brought you to a hanok? Don't. You were terrified of sitting on the floor. You kept asking for a chair. Byum-suk, don't do this. And then you fell asleep during dinner because jet lag hit you, and I carried you to bed, and you woke up the next morning convinced you'd embarrassed yourself beyond repair. He smiled, a rare genuine expression. You hadn't. I found it charming. That was a different life. Annabelle's voice wavered. A different us. Was it? He leaned forward. Or did we just get buried under lies and violence and my father's ambitions? It doesn't matter. She met his eyes, and hers were hard again. That version of us died in that warehouse. What you're looking at now is a survivor, Byum Suk. Someone who learned that love in your world is a weakness that gets you killed. Then why didn't you abort the pregnancy? The question hung between them like a blade. Annabelle's hands clenched into fists. Because I'm not a killer. And because despite everything, despite knowing what they were, I wanted them. I wanted something good to come from what we had. They are good. Byum Suk's voice cracked. Annabelle, the moment I saw them, even just in that photograph, something in me changed. I've spent 3 years being exactly what my father wanted. Cold. Efficient. Dead inside. But they're proof that I'm not just his weapon. I'm human. Annabelle laughed bitterly. Join the club. But being human doesn't change the fact that you're still part of a world that wants me and them dead. You can't just decide one day that you're different and expect that to protect us. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me prove it. Before Annabelle could respond, Byum Suk's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his entire body went rigid. What? Annabelle stood up. What is it? My father. He's summoned me to the family compound. Byum Suk's voice was ice. He knows I found you. Then we run. Right now. We take the kids and we. He has the building surrounded. If I don't show up, he'll assume I've chosen you over him, and he'll send everyone he has. Byum Suk stood, straightening his suit jacket. I need to buy us time. By doing what? He looked at her, and in that moment, Annabelle saw something she'd never seen before in Park Byum Suk's eyes, fear. By lying to my father's face and praying he believes me. The Park family compound sat on the edge of Seoul, a sprawling estate that looked like a traditional palace but functioned as a fortress. Byum Suk walked through the main gate with his head high, every step measured and controlled. Inside, he was calculating survival odds. Chairman Park waited in the ancestral hall, surrounded by portraits of dead relatives who'd built their empire on blood and betrayal. At 70, he was still formidable, tall, silver-haired, with eyes that could freeze bone. You found her. It wasn't a question. Byum Suk bowed, the perfect filial son. I did. And? She's alone. No children. The photograph was a coincidence. She was working as a nanny for a Korean-American family, caring for their mixed-race twins during an exhibition. The lie came out smooth as silk. I verified it myself. Chairman Park studied him for a long moment. You're certain? Yes, father. Then why is she still alive? The question was delivered casually, like asking about the weather. Byum Suk didn't flinch. Because I wanted to know why she faked her death. She claims she was running from Madam Hai Rin's people, not us. That the attack 3 years ago was a rival family trying to weaken you through me. This was the gamble. Giving his father another enemy to focus on, redirecting the threat. Chairman Park's eyes narrowed. Hai Rin. She's been aggressive lately. Taking territory in Itaewon, pushing into our clubs. Byum Suk pressed forward. If she knew about Annabelle back then, if she's been waiting for the right moment to weaponize that information. Where is the woman now? Safe house in Mapo. I'm interrogating her tomorrow to confirm her story. Another lie, but his father didn't need to know that. Chairman Park stood, walking to the window overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. You understand, of course, that she cannot live. Even if her story is true, she's a liability. She knows too much about our operations, about you. I understand. Do you? His father turned, and Byum Suk saw the trap closing. Because I raised you to put family first. To understand that love is a weapon enemies use against us. 3 years ago, I made a decision to protect you from your own weakness. I removed the foreign girl, I gave you a medical explanation for why you could never see her again, and I expected you to move on. His voice hardened. Instead, you've spent 3 years mourning like a child. Refusing marriage alliances. Refusing to secure your future. All over a woman who meant nothing. Suk's hands clenched behind his back, but his face remained neutral. You're right, father. I allowed emotion to cloud my judgment. It won't happen again. Prove it. Chairman Park returned to his seat. Kill her yourself. Tonight. And bring me proof. The order hung in the air between them. Suk bowed again. Consider it done. He left the compound with the weight of his father's expectations pressing down like a coffin lid. In the car, Minho glanced at him in the mirror. What did he say? He wants her dead by morning. Suk's voice was hollow. And he'll know if I fake it. Then what do we do? Suk stared out at Seoul's lights, the city his family had controlled for generations. Somewhere in those lights were Annabelle, Cairo, and Hannah, proof that everything his father built was worth destroying. We end this. He pulled out his phone, texting a single name, Madam Hai Rin. Minho's eyes went wide. Boss, you can't. My father thinks I'm weak because I loved someone. He thinks love is a liability. Suk's voice was cold steel. I'm going to show him exactly how dangerous love can make a man. By the time they returned to Bukshan, Suk had made his decision. Not the safe choice, not the smart choice, but the only choice that mattered. He found Annabelle awake, sitting outside the children's room like a guard. Your father, she asked. Wants you dead by morning. She didn't react, just nodded like she'd expected it. And you? I'm done being his son. Suk sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I've contacted Madam Hai Rin. She's been trying to break the Park Syndicate's hold for years. If I give her the information she needs, financial records, safe house locations, the names of everyone my father has in his pocket, she'll have the power to wage open war. And in that chaos, we disappear. You, me, Cairo, and Hannah. We leave Seoul, leave Korea if necessary. My father will be too busy fighting for his empire to hunt us down. Annabelle turned to look at him, searching his face. You'd give up everything? Your position, your power, your family legacy? I'd burn it all down for one more day with the three of you. It was the truth, raw and unfiltered, and Annabelle heard it. I spent 3 years hating you, she whispered. 3 years telling myself that you were just like your father, that loving you was the biggest mistake I ever made. But when you walked into that apartment today and looked at our children like they were miracles, she stopped, wiping her eyes. I saw the man I fell in love with. The one who took me to art galleries and read poetry in English just to make me laugh. The one who told me his world was ugly but promised to show me the beautiful parts. I failed you. Suk's voice broke. I failed to protect you, failed to question my father's lies, failed to be strong enough to choose you over his approval. I don't deserve forgiveness. No. Annabelle reached out, taking his hand in hers. You don't. But maybe you deserve a chance to be better. For them. They sat in silence, hands intertwined, while Seoul pulsed outside their walls. Tomorrow would bring war. Tonight, they had peace. From the bedroom came a small voice, Mama? Annabelle stood quickly, but Cairo was already in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. He looked at Suk, then at his mother, then back to Suk with a child's perfect clarity. Are you my Appa? The word, father, hit Suk like a physical blow. He looked at Annabelle, who nodded permission. Yes, he said quietly, kneeling to be at Cairo's eye level. I am. Cairo studied him seriously. Mama said our Appa was gone. But you're here. I was lost. Byum Suk's voice wavered. But I found my way back. Are you going to stay? It was such a simple question, and it demanded a simple answer. But nothing about their lives was simple. I'm going to try, Byum Suk said. Is that okay? Cairo nodded, then shocked them both by reaching out and hugging him. It was brief, awkward, a toddler's impulsive affection. But it shattered the last of Byum Suk's carefully constructed walls. Annabelle lifted Cairo, carrying him back to bed. When she returned, Byum Suk was still kneeling, his face in his hands. He hugged me, he whispered. That's what children do. Annabelle sat beside him. They forgive before they understand why they should hold grudges. I don't know how to be a father. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out. The sound of car doors slamming outside shattered the moment. Byum Suk was on his feet instantly, checking his phone. Security feeds showed black SUVs surrounding the block. They're early, he said grimly. Your father? No. His face went pale. Madam Hai Rin. She's here for the information I promised, but she's not waiting for an exchange. She's planning to take it. Annabelle grabbed his arm. What does that mean? It means we're about to be in the middle of a war. The first gunshot shattered a window. Byum Suk shoved Annabelle toward the bedroom. Get the children. Back door, now. Byum Suk. I'll hold them off. Go. Annabelle ran. Behind her, she heard more gunshots, breaking glass, shouting in Korean. She burst into the children's room, scooping up both Cairo and Hannah despite their confused protests. They were heavy, but adrenaline made her strong. The back door led to a narrow alley. Minho was there, gun drawn, beckoning frantically. This way. They ran through Buckshan's winding streets, traditional houses blurring past. Behind them, the safe house exploded into violence, Hai Rin's people against Byum Suk's, everyone fighting for control. Where's Byum Suk? Annabelle gasped, clutching the children. Covering our escape. Minho turned a corner, heading for a black car. Get in. They piled into the vehicle just as more gunfire erupted. Annabelle held Cairo and Hannah close, both children crying now, terrified and confused. It's okay, babies. Mama's here. We're safe. But they weren't safe. And as the car sped through Seoul's early morning streets, Annabelle realized Byum Suk wasn't with them. Turn around, she ordered. We have to go back for him. Ma'am, he gave explicit orders. I don't care about his orders. Turn this car around. Before Minho could respond, his phone rang. He answered, listened, then went pale. What? Annabelle demanded. What is it? It's over. Minho's voice was hollow. Madam Hai Rin's people captured Byum Suk. They're taking him to her compound. The world tilted. No, Annabelle whispered. No, we have to. There's nothing we can do. He made sure you and the children got out. That was all that mattered to him. But it wasn't all that mattered. Not to Annabelle. Because somewhere in the past 12 hours, despite everything, despite 3 years of carefully constructed walls, she'd made a decision. She'd chosen him back. Madam Hai Rin's compound was brutalist architecture disguised as modern luxury, all steel and glass, a statement of power in the heart of Gangnam. Byum Suk knelt in her office, hands bound, bleeding from a cut above his eye. Hai Rin circled him like a predator, her designer heels clicking on marble. The gentleman butcher. Finally in my custody. Your father must be losing his mind. My father doesn't know I'm here. Byum Suk's voice was steady despite the pain. This stays between us. Oh, I don't think so. She pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. I'm going to send him a picture. Let him know I have his heir. Watch him scramble to negotiate. He won't negotiate. He'll declare war. Then I'll have war. Hai Rin smiled. Either way, the park syndicate falls. And the woman? The children? Hai Rin's smile widened. Leverage. The great Park Byum Suk, so cold and untouchable, finally has something he cares about. That makes you weak. That makes me dangerous. Before she could respond, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. Sirens wailed. Hai Rin's phone buzzed frantically, reports of breaches, attacks, multiple entry points. What is this? She demanded. Byum Suk smiled through blood. The difference between loving someone and being weak about it. The doors exploded inward. Annabelle walked through the smoke, flanked by Minho and 4 of Byum Suk's most loyal men. In her hands was Chairman Park's personal ledger, the one thing Hai Rin had wanted more than revenge. Trade, Annabelle said calmly. This for him. Hai Rin's eyes went wide. How did you? I broke into your enemy's compound while you were distracted with mine. Turns out, desperation makes people creative. Annabelle's voice was steel. Now let him go, or I burn this ledger and every secret it contains. For a moment, everything hung in balance. Then Hai Rin laughed, genuine, surprised, delighted. I like you. She gestured, and her men cut Byum Suk's bonds. Take him. But know this, I'm still coming for the Park Syndicate. This doesn't change anything. I know. Annabelle helped Byum Suk stand. But you'll do it without using my family as pawns. They walked out together, Annabelle supporting Byum Suk's weight, Minho covering their retreat. Behind them, Hai Rin's laughter echoed through the compound. In the car, Byum Suk stared at Annabelle like she was an apparition. You came back for me. Of course I did, you idiot. Annabelle's voice shook. Did you really think I'd let you sacrifice yourself after we just found each other again? You should have run. Taken the children and disappeared like I told you. Cairo asked where his Appa was. Annabelle's eyes filled with tears. And I realized I couldn't answer him. I couldn't tell him you were gone. Not again. Byum Suk pulled her close, ignoring his injuries. I don't deserve you. No, you don't. But you're going to spend the rest of your life earning it anyway. They held each other while Seoul blurred past the windows, a city on the verge of war. The final confrontation came 3 days later, at an abandoned temple in the mountains north of Seoul, the Park family's ancestral shrine. Chairman Park had summoned his son, demanding answers, demanding loyalty, demanding blood. Byum Suk arrived alone. Or so his father thought. You've betrayed everything, Chairman Park said coldly, standing before the altar to their ancestors. Our family, our legacy, our blood. For what? A foreign woman and her mongrel children? Careful, father. Byum Suk's voice was ice. Those mongrel children are your grandchildren. Your blood. Proof that every lie you've told me was designed to control me, not protect me. I protected you from weakness. From the same sentimentality that destroyed your uncle, your grandfather, every Park who forgot that love is a liability. Chairman Park's composure cracked. I made you strong. I made you feared. And you threw it away for the only thing that ever mattered. Byum Suk stepped forward. You told me I was sterile. You showed me forged medical reports. You murdered the woman I loved, or tried to, all to keep your perfect vision of our family intact. But she survived. They survived. And now your entire empire is built on a foundation of lies. So what will you do? Kill me? Destroy our family for revenge? No. Byum Suk's voice was quiet. I'll destroy it for freedom. Mine, theirs, and everyone else you've crushed under your legacy. Behind Chairman Park, figures emerged from the shadows, Hai Rin's people, rivals from every corner of Seoul's underworld, all united by Suk's leaked information. Everything his father had built, every secret, every alliance, now exposed and turned against him. "You made me the gentleman butcher," Suk said. "You taught me how to dismantle empires. You just never thought I'd use those skills on yours." Chairman Park lunged, a knife appearing in his hand with practiced ease. But Suk was faster. They fought among the ancestral tablets, 3 generations of Park legacy watching as father and son tried to kill each other. It ended with Suk's hand around his father's throat, pressing him against the altar. "You could have had everything," Chairman Park gasped. "Power, respect, fear. I have everything." Suk's grip tightened. "2 children who barely know me but still call me Appa. A woman who should hate me but chose to save me anyway. That's not weakness, father. That's strength you'll never understand." He let go. Chairman Park collapsed, coughing, defeated but alive. "I'm not going to kill you," Suk said. "I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to let you live to watch your empire burn, to see your legacy crumble, to know that the son you molded into your perfect weapon chose love over everything you valued. That's your punishment." He walked away, leaving his father among the ashes of their ancestral shrine. Outside, Annabelle waited with Cairo and Hannah. Behind her, soul burned, not literally, but metaphorically. The Park Syndicate was fracturing, rival families moving in, old alliances dissolving. The age of Chairman Park was over. "Is it done?" Annabelle asked. "It's done." Suk knelt before his children, meeting their eyes. "We're free." Cairo reached out, touching the blood on his father's face. "Appa hurt?" "Yes. But I'm okay." Suk pulled both children into his arms, holding them like they might disappear. "We're all okay." Hannah, who'd been silent through most of the chaos, suddenly spoke in her small voice, "Go home now?" It was such a simple question, but it made all 3 adults freeze. Because what was home? Not the safe house, not soul, not the world they'd been running through. "Yes, baby girl," Annabelle said softly, meeting Suk's eyes over their daughter's head. "We're going home." 6 months later, a small art gallery opened in Busan, far from Seoul's glittering violence. The space was modest but filled with light, large windows overlooking the sea, white walls displaying bold, colorful paintings that mixed African patterns with Korean landscape techniques. A sign above the door read, "Bloodline's Gallery," in both English and Korean. Annabelle stood in the center of her exhibition, watching visitors examine her work. Each painting told a story, of survival, of love tested and reforged, of 2 worlds blending into something entirely new. Critics had started taking notice. Her style was unique, they said. Raw and refined at the same time. "Mama, look." Cairo ran up, holding a small canvas he'd been working on in the children's corner. "I painted the ocean." It was mostly blue scribbles, but Annabelle crouched down, examining it seriously. "It's beautiful, baby. Very dynamic. You captured the movement. Can I be an artist like you?" "You can be anything you want." She kissed his forehead. "That's the whole point." Hannah toddled over, paint on her hands and face, grinning widely. "I made mess." "Yes, you did." Annabelle laughed, wiping her daughter's face with a cloth. "A beautiful mess." Across the gallery, a man stood alone, watching from the street. He wore simple clothes, jeans, a dark jacket, a cap pulled low. Nothing like the tailored suits and cold authority of Park Suk. This man looked ordinary, forgettable, exactly what he needed to be. He watched Annabelle laugh with their children, watched her move through her gallery with confidence and joy, watched the life she'd built from ashes. Every instinct told him to walk in, to be part of it, to claim the family he'd fought so hard to protect. Instead, he turned away. This was the promise he'd made. Freedom. True freedom. And that meant letting them live without the shadow of his past hanging over them. Hai Rin had taken over most of Seoul's underworld, true to her word. Chairman Park had disappeared, some said to China, others said into obscurity, broken and powerless. The Park Syndicate was history. But Byum Suk knew better than to believe he could ever be truly clean. There would always be someone from his past, some debt unpaid, some enemy seeking revenge. As long as he stayed close to Annabelle and the children, he put them at risk. So he watched from a distance. He deposited money in accounts Annabelle didn't know existed, ensuring they'd always be secure. He had men stationed around Busan, invisible protectors who'd die before letting harm come to his family. And once a week, he came to this spot across from the gallery, just to see them. Just to know they were safe and happy. Boss. Minho appeared beside him, the only person from his old life Byum Suk had kept close. There's been movement. 3 of Chairman Park's old allies trying to consolidate power back in Seoul. They're asking about you. Let them ask. Byum Suk's voice was calm. I'm dead to that world. They found the money trails. They know you're supporting someone in Busan. Byum Suk's jaw tightened. How long do we have? A week, maybe 2 before they connect the dots to the gallery. Then we deal with it. He took one last look at Annabelle, memorizing the way sunlight caught in her locks, the sound of Cairo's laughter, the sight of Hannah's paint-covered hands. Make sure they never get close enough to see her face. Understood. Minho hesitated. Boss, you could just go in. Talk to her. The kids ask about you. They ask about their appa who saved them. Not the man I actually am. Byum Suk turned away from the gallery. Better they remember a hero than know a killer. But before he could leave, Cairo burst out of the gallery's front door, running down the street with the fearless confidence of a 3-year-old. Appa. Appa, I saw you. Byum Suk froze. Behind Cairo, Annabelle appeared in the doorway, Hannah on her hip, her face a mixture of shock and something else, something that looked like relief. Cairo crashed into Byum Suk's legs, hugging them tight. Why you standing outside? Come see Mama's paintings. They're so pretty. Byum Suk looked up, meeting Annabelle's eyes across the distance. For a long moment, neither moved. Then she walked toward him, slow and deliberate, until they were standing face to face. How long? She asked quietly. How long have you been watching? Every week. Since you opened. Every week. Annabelle's voice was controlled, but he could hear the anger beneath. Every single week, you've been standing out here like some kind of ghost, and you never once came inside? I was protecting you. From what? From yourself? She shifted Hannah to her other hip, and Byum Suk noticed his daughter watching him with curious eyes. You think we're safer with you lurking in shadows than actually being present? You think that's what freedom looks like? You don't understand the threats. I understand that our children have been asking where their appa went. I understand that Cairo draws pictures of you and leaves them by the window, hoping you'll see. I understand that Hannah asks every night if you're coming back. Annabelle's voice broke. And I understand that I've been running this gallery, building this life, telling myself I was fine alone, but I wasn't. Because you made promises, Byum Suk. You said you'd try. You said you'd stay. I said I'd protect you. Same thing. Cairo piped up, still clinging to his father's legs. Appa protects by staying. That's what appas do. Out of the mouths of children came truth that cut deeper than any blade. Byum Suk knelt, so he was eye level with both Cairo and Hannah. I'm not a good man. The things I've done, the life I lived before. We know, Annabelle interrupted. You think I don't tell them age-appropriate versions of the truth? You think I'm raising them in fantasy? They know their appa was lost in a dark place. They know he fought to find his way back. And they know, because I tell them every single night, that he loves them more than anything in this world. Hannah reached out suddenly, grabbing Byum Suk's face with her small, paint-covered hands. Appa home now? It was the same question she'd asked 6 months ago at the temple, but this time it meant something different. This time, Byum Suk had a choice. He could keep running. Keep protecting from the shadows. Keep believing that his past was too dark to ever bring into their light. Or he could stay. Risk bringing danger. But also risk something more terrifying, being a father, a partner, a man trying to be better than he was. Yes, he whispered, and the word felt like jumping off a cliff. Appa's home now. Cairo hooped, jumping up and down. Hannah clapped her paint-covered hands together, leaving prints on Byum Suk's jacket that he knew he'd never wash out. And Annabelle. Annabelle cried. She pulled him to his feet and kissed him, there in the street, in front of their gallery, in front of anyone watching. It wasn't the passionate kiss of their first meeting, or the desperate kiss of their reunion. It was something steadier. More real. It was a kiss that said, "You're broken and I'm broken and we've hurt each other and this might not work but we're going to try anyway." When they finally broke apart, Annabelle was smiling through her tears. "You're going to have to actually help with bedtime, you know. And Cairo's going through a phase where he only eats food shaped like dinosaurs. And Hannah wakes up screaming at 2 a.m. approximately 3 times a week. I've faced Korean mob bosses. I think I can handle dinosaur-shaped food." Famous last words. She took his hand, intertwining their fingers. "Come on. I'll give you the gallery tour. And then we're going to go upstairs to our apartment, and you're going to read the kids a bedtime story, and we're going to figure out what the hell we're doing." In that order? In exactly that order. Minho watched from a discreet distance as Byum Suk, the gentleman butcher, heir to the Park Syndicate, one of Seoul's most feared enforcers, was dragged into an art gallery by 2 toddlers, each holding one of his hands. Annabelle followed, shaking her head but smiling. Minho's phone buzzed. The message was from one of their Busan contacts. 3 black SUVs just entered the city. Chairman Park's people. ETA to gallery, 45 minutes. He typed back quickly, on it. Reroute them to the docks. I'll handle cleanup. Then he deleted the message and pocketed his phone. His boss deserved one night. One evening playing house, reading bedtime stories, being normal. Minho would make sure he got it. Because that's what loyalty looked like now. Not blind obedience to a syndicate. But protecting the chance for something better. Inside the gallery, Byum Suk stood before one of Annabelle's largest paintings. It showed a city at night, clearly Seoul, but the buildings were melting into abstract patterns, Korean hanok roofs blending with African textile designs, creating something entirely new. "It's called Bloodlines," Annabelle said softly, coming to stand beside him. "It's about 2 worlds that shouldn't work together, but do. About breaking down what you inherit and building something new from the pieces. It's beautiful." Byum Suk couldn't take his eyes off it. "You're incredibly talented." "I know." She smiled. "I spent 3 years perfecting my craft while running from your family. Turns out fear is excellent motivation." "Annabelle." "I'm joking." She squeezed his hand. "Mostly. But seriously, I'm good at this. The gallery's making money. We're stable. I don't need you to save us financially. Then what do you need me for?" She turned to face him fully. "I need you to show up. To be present. To let Cairo teach you about dinosaurs and let Hannah paint on your clothes and sit with me after they're asleep and just be here. Can you do that?" Byum Suk thought about his father's compound burning. About the empire he'd destroyed. About every choice that had led him to this moment, standing in an art gallery in Busan, his children's laughter echoing off the walls, a woman who should hate him giving him another chance. "I can try," he said. "That's all I'm asking." Cairo ran up again, tugging on Byum Suk's hand. "Appa, come see my painting. It's in the special kids section." Kids section? Suk looked at Annabelle. I dedicated part of the gallery to children's art. Community outreach, art classes, building the next generation of artists. Her eyes sparkled. Cairo's painting is hanging right next to a piece from a 10-year-old prodigy. He's very proud. I'm the best 3-year-old artist in Busan. Cairo announced. The most confident, certainly. Annabelle laughed. They spent the next hour touring the gallery as a family. Suk listened to Cairo explain every scribble, watched Hannah try to eat a paintbrush, helped Annabelle close up for the evening. It was domestic and ordinary and nothing like the life he'd known. It was perfect. Upstairs, their apartment was small but filled with light, children's toys scattered across the floor, Annabelle's sketches taped to the walls, a kitchen that actually smelled like cooking instead of takeout. It was lived in and messy and real. Bath time, Annabelle announced, and both children immediately protested. No bath. No bath. Cairo chanted. We not dirty. Hannah agreed. Annabelle pointed at Hannah's paint-covered face. You're literally covered in paint. It's art. Suk found himself laughing, actually laughing, for the first time in what felt like years. I'll handle it. You sure? Annabelle raised an eyebrow. Bath time is a battlefield. I've handled actual battlefields. How hard can 2 toddlers be? 30 minutes later, Suk emerged from the bathroom soaking wet, covered in soap suds, with a rubber duck stuck in his hair. Cairo and Hannah ran past him in their pajamas, giggling uncontrollably. Annabelle was laughing so hard she had to sit down. How hard can it be, he says. They're small but tactical. Suk pulled the rubber duck from his hair. I respect the strategy. Welcome to parenthood. She stood, kissing his wet cheek. Go change. I'll wrangle them into bed. By the time Suk had dried off and changed into borrowed clothes, because of course he didn't have anything here, Annabelle had both children in bed, waiting for their story. Appa reads tonight. Cairo announced, bouncing on his mattress. What story do you want? Suk asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. The dragon one. Suk looked at Annabelle helplessly. She pulled a Korean folktale book from the shelf, handing it to him with a smile. Page 32. About a dragon who learns to be gentle. Of course. Even the bedtime stories in this house had themes. He read slowly, his Korean smooth but his voice unpracticed at the gentleness required for children's stories. But Cairo and Hannah didn't seem to mind. They leaned against him, one on each side, their small bodies warm and trusting. Halfway through the story, Hannah fell asleep, her thumb in her mouth. By the end, Cairo was fighting to keep his eyes open. Appa, he murmured sleepily. Yes? You staying forever? Suk looked at Annabelle, standing in the doorway, watching them. She didn't prompt him, didn't give him the answer. This was his choice. Yes, he said quietly. I'm staying forever. Good. Cairo's eyes closed. Love you, Appa. The words hit Suk like a physical blow. This child who barely knew him, who'd spent most of his life without him, who had every reason to be angry or confused or distant, this child loved him. I love you too, Suk whispered, but Cairo was already asleep. He carefully extracted himself from the bed, tucking both children in. In the hallway, Annabelle was waiting. That was good, she said softly. Natural. I have no idea what I'm doing. None of us do. We're all just pretending and hoping it works out. She led him to the small living room, where she'd set out tea. So. We should probably talk about the elephant in the room. Which one? There are several. She smiled slightly. Fair. Let's start with, are there still people trying to kill us? Suk considered lying, then decided against it. Yes. My father's old allies are trying to rebuild. They see me as a traitor and you as a weakness to exploit. Minho is handling most of it, but eventually, someone will get through. Okay. Annabelle sipped her tea calmly. And what's our plan for that? I have security measures in place. People watching the gallery, the apartment, every entrance to Busan. If anything happens, we run again. No. Byung-suk set down his teacup. No more running. If they come, we end it. Permanently. I didn't destroy my father's empire just to spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. You say that like it's simple. It's not simple. But it's necessary. He reached across the table, taking her hand. I won't let them take this from us. This life, this family, this chance to be something other than what we were. I'll do whatever it takes to protect it. Annabelle studied him, then nodded slowly. All right. But we do it together. No more noble sacrifice bullshit. No more watching from across the street. If we're building a life, we build it as partners. Partners, Byung-suk agreed. They sat in comfortable silence, drinking tea while Busan's night sounds filtered through the windows. Somewhere in the city, Minho was redirecting threats. Somewhere in Seoul, the underworld was restructuring without the Park Syndicate. Somewhere in the mountains, Chairman Park was living with the knowledge that his son had chosen love over legacy. And here, in this small apartment above an art gallery, two people who should never have worked were making it work anyway. I'm scared, Annabelle admitted quietly. Every time the door opens, every time a stranger walks into the gallery, I think it might be the end. I thought it would get easier, but it hasn't. It won't ever be completely easy. Byung-suk squeezed her hand. But I promise you, I will spend every day making sure you and our children feel safe. Even if I can't guarantee safety, I can guarantee I'll fight for it. That's all I can ask. Later, after they'd finished their tea and Annabelle had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from a long day of managing the gallery, Byung-suk covered her with a blanket and stepped onto the small balcony. Below, the street was quiet. Normal. A life he'd never imagined having. His phone buzzed. Minho, threat neutralized. 3 permanent removals, 0 traces. You're clear for now. Byung-suk deleted the message and pocketed his phone. The violence hadn't ended. It probably never would. But at least now it happened in shadows,